to rape victims for the low conviction rate in England and Wales. Kit Malthouse, thank you very much for joining us here on GBNews. It's good to have you with us. This was a mea culpa from the government, wasn't it? Just to kick off, what would you like to say to our viewers in light of this report?
It absolutely was an apology for the really awful decline in rape prosecutions and convictions that we've seen since 2016. It does mean that hundreds, if not thousands, of people haven't had their day in court or the justice that they deserve. And we've been trying for the last 2 years to tease out the reasons why. And today, obviously, we've launched a plan to try and rectify that situation and get us back to the position we were in 2016. The reasons are complex and difficult in this most intimate and complicated of crimes to prosecute, but we're going to throw everything we've got at trying to get justice for those victims.
Kit Malthouse, an apology is of little comfort to those rape victims and survivors. If a woman seeks justice, what can you say to her to reassure her that it is worth going to the police, taking her case to court, when the chances of that woman getting justice are so pathetically small?
Well, obviously, I would say to her that things are changing. We started the work already, notwithstanding the fact the plan is being launched today. And as you will know, over the last 3 or 4 years, we have actually seen a significant increase in the number of rapes being reported. 2016, we had about 20-odd thousand reported. We're now up above 40,000 being reported. So more people, largely women, sometimes men, but more people are coming forward, which is good news. But we now need to make sure that they have confidence that they're going to get what they're looking for from the justice system. And there are a series of measures we're putting in place. Looking at the role of the mobile phone, the victim journey, more support for victims. So, for example, we're spending £27 million on hiring 700 more independent sexual violence advisors to sit alongside the victims as they go on this dreadful journey towards court, putting the police and the CPS together much more in the room, so that they're working together more collaboratively on investigations, and shifting the primary focus of the investigation away from the victim and her circumstances and background, more towards the perpetrator and their circumstances and background, to make sure that we get the balance right. I'm hopeful that over the next few years that we'll see a significant increase in the number of cases that get into court and are put before a judge and a jury, and we'll see more justice for more victims.
Now, Minister, while I'm sure everybody would welcome this report and the contrition being shown, we've got to get down to brass tacks here. Now, the report says that the police and the Crown Prosecution Service will be marked on new scorecards, and they'll be published every 6 months. There'll be an external task force, including the Victims Commissioner, the Domestic Abuse Commissioner, a task force that will meet monthly and be led by you. That all sounds well and good, but what actually happens to the particular branches of the police, the particular branches of the Crown Prosecution Service, if their performance isn't up to scratch? Because if you try and take money away from them, they'll say, well, we're even less likely to be able to do our jobs. How do we make the cogs and wheels of government and justice work so we can rectify this ghastly situation?
Yeah, so the structures that you're talking about are all about providing transparency, Liam. What we want is for people to be able to see clearly how the system is performing on a regular basis. And I will be held to account, along with leaders from the police and the CPS, in front of that external body on a monthly basis, to see how we're doing and what progress is being made. But beyond that, obviously, the police and the CPS have their own grouping, their own improvement group, which is looking at exactly what they can do to try and improve. Now, if we don't see improvement over the next few months and years brought about by that transparency, then we'll have to think about what we do further, because it's not acceptable to have such a tiny number of cases getting into court. At the very least, we want to get that back to where we were in 2016, which means more than doubling the number that are getting into court at the moment. That's going to be a huge challenge for us operationally, but being transparent about what we're doing, we think will give people greater confidence that we're on a good journey.
Any police forces that are doing better than others? Are there any examples of good practice that we can learn from?
Yeah, absolutely. So Avon and Somerset have been running a thing called Project Bluestone for some time, which is really doing innovative things, particularly this refocusing of an investigation towards the perpetrator rather than the victim. We're going to take that model of operation, add more to it, put the CPS alongside as well, and spread it to 4 further areas: London, West Midlands, South Wales and Durham, to build, if you like, a new operating model of rape investigation and prosecution. And from that base of 5, in 6 months we'll build to the next phase, and then hopefully within 24 months we'll have a new mode of operation around this most sensitive and most difficult of investigations for the whole country. Now look, this is a massive operational challenge, never mind the kind of ethical and legal challenge. We've got the police who are operationally independent, the CPS the same, the courts and the judiciary, all of them independent of me and of government, quite rightly so. But we're all apprised of the need, the urgent need to do something about this. But it does require retraining of hundreds of people, new practices for hundreds of people, new approaches and thinking, and a culture change across all the organisations. So it's going to take us a little bit of time, but the ambition is there, and the leadership is there, I hope, from the top. Certainly the Prime Minister has tasked me personally with leading this, and he's very, very keen to see significant progress.
And just finally, Minister, thank you for your comments on that really important subject. Just to ask you at the end, what do you make of the result of the Cheshire and Amersham by-election? The first time that constituency hasn't been won by a Tory ever.
Well, it's rotten luck for poor old Peter Fleet, our fantastic candidate. Really so disappointing. I was there a couple of days ago myself, knocking on doors for him and talking to people. And I think there are going to be lessons to be learned. A bit of a confusing one from my point of view. I mean, lots of people were mentioning HS2, and the late, great Cheryl Gillan, who was the MP before, obviously campaigned strongly against HS2. And they voted, some people, I guess, against that. But then the Liberal Democrats have been enormous supporters of HS2 right from the start. And just a few weeks before, in that area and around, we had resounding victories in local government, sweeping the board in some areas. I'm an MP not very far away, and we did remarkably well in my constituency. And of course, we won the Hartlepool by-election. We've got battling to come. So I think in the post-match analysis, there's going to be quite a lot for us to learn about what the people in Cheshire and Amersham are saying. And I hope that we can win their trust and take it back with a thumping majority at the next opportunity.
Kit Malthouse, Police and Crime Minister, thanks a lot for joining us on GB News.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Cheerio.
Now, we're a start-up company